Hello there, it's Donna from Taffy Crafting, and a lot of my videos are made late at night, and today I'm making one first thing in the morning. So let's see if this goes any better with no disasters, because I'm fresh and not long woken up and just delaying going to work really. Today, here's something I've wanted to make for such a long time. I probably first saw one of these gift bags, I mean I'm talking years ago, and I thought, oh gosh, I really want to make one of those. So last night I made one, and I thought I just have to use this for 3D Thursday. So this is a project for a Thursday during the whole of May, and now I've decided June as well. I'm going to be doing 3D Thursday. So that's alongside Fun Fold Friday, and also when they go to plan, Challenge Tuesday, and that's a colour challenge that's set by creativecolorchallenges.blogspot.com. So anyway, that's what I'm going to make. It actually isn't as complicated as you would think. It's quite straightforward. Needs some die cutting. We're going to die cut some circles, and we're going to die cut half a circle out of here. So this one I've used Night of Navy cardstock and Sun Prints designer series paper. This is all available now. The catalogue has been live for about 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And so that's all available. There's a link to my shop in the description bar below, and I can sell to the UK, France, Germany, Austria and the Netherlands. So if you're from any of those countries, you can go straight to my shop and browse there at your heart's content. And I've used the Eden Garden stamp set, and that's stamped in Starry Sky, and I've used the rectangle punch. So this one I'm going to make is going to be brighter, so I think that's a good one, you know, maybe for somebody who doesn't like bright colours. And then here's something super bright. So I've got Parakeet Party. This is the green Parakeet Party. I've got Fresh Freesia cardstock. This is what my handles are going to be made out of. And I have Butterfly Wishes designer series paper. Now I've got to be careful with my direction of this, because on this one I think that's upside down. Maybe you wouldn't have thought that if I hadn't have said it, but anyway, so I'm going to be careful with this, because this would definitely be upside down if I put it on that way. So the first thing we're going to do, I haven't pre-cut anything, so you're going to watch this from start to finish. There'll be a few things that I will, like my die cutting, I will do away from the camera, just because the big shot is too big. Now you want 2 pieces of card. So I've got a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock here. If you're using A4, for the sizes that I've got here, it won't fit. You can just make them smaller. So I'm just going to cut that in half. So I've cut that at 6 inches, and each piece you'll cut down to 7 inches on the long side. And then you'll still have some good sized pieces of scrap for other cards. And you can maybe have some action card. Look, you get that scrap left, and that will be 5 inches by 6 inches, I think. Yeah, 5 inches by 6 inches. So a good sized piece of, you can't even call that scrap, can you? That's not scrap. And with the scrap that we have of this, you can make a card. Right, now I've lost track where my cards are. There we are. So we've got that one. And then we'll trim this one down to 7 inches. Like that. So you've got 2 pieces. And then what I'm going to do is trim down my designer series paper while I'm here. Now the width of this needs to be 3 7/8. So again, still get a good sized piece of that. And this needs to be 5 7/8. And you'll just have a little strip at the end of that. There are some people that don't throw any scrap away at all. I tend to throw big chunky bits away. Leave an answer, leave a comment in the comment box. Would you save that? So you want 2 of those. So I'm going to put those to one side now and I'll stick those on my box when I get to that. So on each of these 6" by 7" pieces of card, on the short side, on the 6" side, we are going to score at 5 inches, and then I'll flip it and I'll score at 5 inches again. So these are the sides. And then on the 7" side, you're going to score at 6 inches. So this is the bottom, and these are the two sides. We don't have a score line here, so this is the top. So we'll do that again. So on the short side, I've scored at 5 inches, flipped it 5 inches, and then I've turned it, and then I've scored at 6 inches. So we have a 1 inch border all the way around. Let me show you what we're going to do with these. Oh, suddenly the sun has come into the room. It's rained all night here, and now the sun has come out, which might mean my picture goes a bit dark. Let's fold and burnish these score lines first. Okay, let's pick this one up first because we're going to do a slightly different thing on each of these. Hopefully the sun will come back round in a second. So here's your score line, and you're going to cut up to that score line, to that first score line there. And what I've done, it's really difficult to see, but when you make a score, you know, it's got a bit of a thickness to it. So I've cut to the left of this one so that my score line is actually, all of it is in this box here. I don't know if that makes sense. It's one of those things where I know what I mean, but explaining it can be quite tricky. And then I'm just going to wedge that up there like that and cut there like that. So here, the score line, so you know, it's quite thick, that score line. So I'm going to cut to the right of that. So I'm kind of removing the groove, and then I'll just wedge into that there and wedge into that there. So that's what just we have at the bottom of that. This one, we're going to get rid of these squares altogether. So I'm going to cut again on this one to the right of that groove, and to the left of that groove. And we're not talking about leaving a huge gap there. We'll do this one. And then just to the right of that. So actually what you can see there on here is no remnants of any score lines. Now what I'm going to do now is decorate each of these. So that's the front, that's the back, or that's the back and that's the front. Haven't made up my mind what's what yet. If you wanted a different design for the front and the back, then you have to decide at this point. So the one with no squares is the front, because this sits on the front and then all of these come round. So all of the seams are at the back. Okay, so this is the one that's at the front, the one with no squares here. And what I'm going to do using liquid glue is just glue those down. You could use tear and tape, you could use dispenser glue. Gosh, that's a clash of colour there, isn't it? So if you have had any of the new products from the catalogue, what do you think of them? My favourite DSP at the moment is a Wash-In Beauty. Just absolutely beautiful, such vivid, bright colours, but not just like really, really bright, but also strong colours as well. I also like the Hues of Happiness. I quite like the in colours. I haven't used them much at the moment. Sorry, just slight interruption there. So we've got those. So they go off, because I've used liquid glue, they're going to go off to dry, because we're going to be die cutting this soon. Now the next thing I'm going to do, but which I'm going to do off camera, is make my handles. So I've got the fresh freesia, just because I wanted to pick out the fresh freesia out of the DSP. So I've got my layering circle dies. Absolutely love these. I would never be without them. And I'm just choosing which ones I want, but I want something that's got quite a, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I've picked out two, so that one goes in between them, but we'd get a very thin handle if we did that. And actually on this one, do you know, I'm going to go, should we have a scalloped handle? Should just go all out. So what I'm doing to decide what size handle I want is that I'm just going to look at that on there and make that decision. So that's the outside of my handle. And then, so that's the next size down, so I don't want to die cut that one. I'm going to do that one. Okay. So I'll do this off camera. So what I'm going to do, just because my big shot is the other side of the room, and then if I brought it here, it would just shake. I'm going to put that on my die cutting machine and perhaps put some washi tape on it. Hold it down and then run it through. We'll do that twice because we need two handles. If you want, if you look at this one, I didn't back my handles. I don't know if you can see that. So if you wanted to, you could make 4 sets of handles, 2 for one side and 2 for the other. But I didn't do that. So I'm going to go off now and cut out 2 scalloped handles. So from those two, I've got those 2 handles. Now, I'm going to pick up the smaller of the 2 dies that I used. And what we need to do is die cut those. Now you need to get that as central as you possibly can. Now there are 2 ways in which you could do this. You could put the 2 together, which is quite thick, and put that on there. And when you die cut it, it won't go all the way through. It will pick up the top one, but it will leave a really good impression on this one. So you then put this back through, but when you put the die on, it will just fit like a jigsaw piece. So I'm going to go off and do that now, and I'll show you what the second piece looks like before I do a second die cut. Right, so this is exactly as it come off the die cutting machine. I've not taken this off. I'll take that off there. And then this has come off. So we've got some nice little scraps coming off of these. I've got 2 fresh freesia circles. I've got a half circle here. You never know what you could make out of those. Now that hasn't die cut. Obviously it won't. It's too thick. So you get this back and it will slot in like that. And it just, you know that it's slotted in. It doesn't move. It's there. So I'm going to run that back through. And then there we have the second part of that. So that's what you have. Now, here's the back. What we're going to do is put some tear and tape on here. Don't have to use tear and tape, you could use liquid glue. I'm a bit too impatient for liquid glue for this. You've got to kind of hold it down. Take those off. So this needs to be on the outside of the box, of the bag. Now let me just tell you about where I saw this. I just went on to Pinterest because I knew I wanted to make this circle bag. I've seen loads of them on Pinterest, and the crafter where I ended up stopping was a crafter, she's called Frenchy Stamps, something like that. Great instructions she gave, and that's why my bag came out pretty well first time. So these tabs go behind this, and that cut side meets that score line there. So just take your time to get that as exact as possible, and you'll do the same with this one. So tuck it behind that, and that cut line meets the score line, and push it down. And then what you could do is get your bone folder. This does a very good job of this. Just pushes that down like that. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is take this, and it just sits right on top like that to form the bag. So what I'm going to do is put some tear and tape on the inside of this one. Now I'm going to run this along that score line there. Keep that quite close to that so that we get as seamless a finish as possible. And this one we want to get to the edge, because we'll have a gap, and then potentially, if it catches on anything, then it's going to come undone. This is definitely a production line project if you had a few of these to make. And I'll tell you what I've got in mind now. It's my daughter's baby shower in the next few weeks. I think it's in about 3 weeks' time. And now she hasn't mentioned it yet, but I'm thinking, gosh, if we were going to give out gifts, these are the things you could get in a production line. Someone on the handles, someone cutting out the boxes, someone cutting out the DSP. Now the first thing I'm going to do is start off with the base. Oops. If I had my take your pick tool, that wouldn't have happened. And it's literally only to the side of me in my drawer. Can I be bothered? No. So this, so like that, that is going to go on top. So how I'm going to do that is to get the base of this and push it up to that score line. Make sure that everything matches. So that side with that side, that score line, that score line. Take your time with it and then fold it over. And then smooth it down. And we did that one first because if we did the sides first, you can't get your bone folder down in there properly. So at least you can smooth that down. You can use liquid glue if you feel that you need that room to just manoeuvre it. Now take these off on both sides. Just be careful not to get stuck to the other one. Like that. No, I won't take that off yet actually. I'm going to leave that there. So you're going to bring this over and you are going to get that cut side to that score line. Get it to match. It's a bit tricky. You kind of want to push this down with your thumbs a little bit to hold it secure and then bring that over like that. And then just push your bone folder down in there. Now this is a bit tricky because we don't want this to stick before we've got it in place. That's come off and I can't see. Where did that go? Oh, it's there. So it is a little bit tricky at this point. Just, you know what's going on in my head at the moment? It's keep you cool. It'll be okay. And again, get that cut edge as close to that score line as possible. And I'm just pushing that down with the slightest of pressure on my thumb and then bringing that edge over like that, and then foam folder inside. Like that. Probably should have got some glue right at that edge there, it's just missed that. So now for the handles. So I'm going to put a handle on like that, and then a handle on the other side. So with your glue, wet glue definitely works well here, if it would come out of the bottle. I'm just going to put a bit of glue all the way around, like that, and then this is when you might get a bit sticky. Just let that dry. Every time I push it, it moves. So I'm being very careful with that. And turn it over, and I'm going to do the same here. And then while that dries off, we'll sort out the sentiment. I really don't know why I didn't make, why I haven't made one of these sooner. Right, let's put that to dry. Okay, so some scrap. Now I need to decide, do I want a fresh freesia sentiment or do I want a parakeet party? As soon as I did that, I knew it wasn't right. Fresh freesia plus I want to keep these for card fronts. So we'll keep those to one side. Card front sentiment bit, it's all there ready. Right, so I'm going to use the rectangle punch again because I really like that punch. Haven't used it for a while. And I need to decide on a sentiment. So I've picked up the True Beauty stamp set. And I'm going to use the Just Because. Because just because we might just want to send a little gift to someone, but I can only have this if it fits in the punch. It doesn't. Can't have that. What should we have? You Are a True Friend. Let's try that one. I think that will just fit. And I'm going to stamp this in Starry Sky because Parakeet Party wouldn't have been quite right. Wouldn't have been seen. So we need something dark, so let's go with that. Get my punch. I'll punch that out, and I'm going to put that onto my bag with some dimensionals. So the next thing I'm going to do is clear up all of my desk and get my bag ready for work. Going into work for midday today, and I don't finish till 8:30 tonight. But there we are. It earns a living. I'm going to pop that on there, and I'm going to see if I've got any ribbon that might coordinate with that. I don't think I have, which is a real shame. note, so I'm going to have to leave that as it is, which is a shame. I don't use a whole lot of ribbon. No, so we'll leave it like that. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll just put some little rhinestones on there. Whoops. Like that. Get a bit of bling. And there we go with the mess around me. So we have a gift bag. Look at that. Can just hold it. Just hold it like that. I think these would be lovely for a little girl's birthday party. You could make these smaller. What you need to be aware of is that some die cutting machines are much wider, but the Big Shot and the Stampin' Up cut and emboss, you can only go to 6 inches wide. So probably the widest you could get for this would be the 4-inch, but you could make it shorter. Something to worth playing about with. Measurements, I think, something definitely I want to have a look at. But yeah, it would fit some chocolate, some treats. We could, probably do something with the width of this if you wanted something wider. Definitely something I want to play about with measurements. But there we have it. 2 very different boxes with very different colourways and different styles of handle. Could even, do you know what, I'm thinking about getting out the stitched rectangles and doing some rectangular handles there. World's your oyster with that, really. So I hope you like those, and I hope you'll be back again soon. Tomorrow it's a Fun Fold Friday, so please come and join me again tomorrow. What have I got tomorrow for my Fun Fold? An easel card tomorrow. So stick around for that one. If you haven't subscribed to me before, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and you'll be notified once that video goes live. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you want all the instructions, blog post is in the description bar below. I'll see you all soon. In fact, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.